Why was Merrick Garland prepping for a possible, shootout? Why did agents roll up, guns at the ready?
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
What happens when the director of one of the most powerful institutions in the United States clashes with a figure just as formidable? A new and explosive video that points fingers at the FBI director and his role in Trump's assassination attempt is going viral. Let's find out all there is to know. Did the FBI director try to kill Donald Trump? Ever since the news of the attempt to assassinate Donald Trump hit the news, there's been a swirl of conspiracy theories making waves. From speculations about who the shooter was working with to a more sinister theory of Iranian threats, it's been more questions than answers. However, the latest of these theories seem to focus on none other than the FBI.
This was an attempted assassination attempt on Donald John Trump.
Why was Merrick Garland prepping for a possible, shootout? Why did agents roll up, guns at the ready?
There have been speculations of the FBI director Christopher Wray trying to kill Donald Trump. You may be wondering, how is this even possible? Well, it may seem far-fetched, but it's important to note that there has been a contentious relationship between the former president and the FBI. To understand why this theory has surfaced, it's crucial to talk about Trump's history with the Bureau and how it has led to theories of bad blood between them. Trump's rather dramatic clashes with the FBI started way before he even took office as the President of America. During his 2016 presidential campaign, he constantly portrayed himself as an outsider out to fight corruption. His campaign rhetorics often targeted institutions he felt were working against him, and the FBI even made it to his list. For instance, he constantly went on about how they spied on his campaign, claiming the FBI working with the Obama-Biden administration secretly launched a surveillance operation on his campaign even without evidence.
Sir, what proof do you have that your campaign was spied on?
All you have to do is look at the basics and you'll see.
At the same time, it was revealed that during his 2016 campaign, Trump aides had extensive contacts with Russian officials and operatives while the Kremlin was meddling in the US election. This raised alarms within the US intelligence community, so the FBI opened an investigation and utilized routine surveillance methods to determine what was happening. However, this investigation by the Bureau into Russian interference in the 2016 election seemed to cause more rift between Trump and the FBI, with the former president calling it a witch hunt.
I think it's disgraceful, and so does a lot of other people. This is a pure and simple witch hunt.
Another significant moment that seemed to amplify the contentious relationship between the FBI and Donald Trump was when Trump fired former FBI Director James Comey on May 9, 2017. James Comey, at the time, was the 7th director of the FBI and was even leading the Russian interference investigation when Trump fired him via a termination letter. Trump criticized him for his handling of the investigation and even claimed that dismissing the former director reduced unnecessary pressure on his ability to engage and negotiate with Russia due to Comey's grandstanding and politicizing of the investigation. It was also alleged that Trump was frustrated that Comey would not publicly confirm that the president was not personally under investigation. From that point on, Trump's attacks on the FBI became even more frequent and intense. In fact, he and his allies described the FBI as being part of the deep state who were in with dangerous elites to undermine his presidency.
It may be time to declare war outright against the deep state and clear out the rot in the upper levels of the FBI and the Justice Department.
As the animosity between Trump and the Bureau deepened, more narratives began to fly around, and one of the most prominent was that Trump desired to control the FBI. This accusation gained even more traction after FBI former Director James Comey released a statement insinuating Trump may have fired him after demanding loyalty at a private dinner in January 2017.
I think it was, first of all, our relationship didn't get off to a great start, given the conversation I had to have on January 6th. This was not, this didn't improve the relationship because it was very, very awkward. He was asking for something and I was refusing to give it. But again, I don't know him well enough to know how he reacted to that exactly.
He also testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee, saying that Trump has pressured him to let go of the investigation into former National Security Director Michael Flynn. This revelation fueled suspicions that Trump was trying so hard to interfere with the FBI and their activities. It doesn't help that his demand for loyalty among his allies and even top law enforcement officials has been a recurring theme throughout his presidency. While Trump has claimed that his interest in the FBI is to ensure they carry out their obligations without political bias, many believe he wants control of the Bureau for his benefit. This perception that Trump wanted to control the FBI showed during the investigation into Russian interference. As the investigation continued, Trump repeatedly lashed out at the FBI, accusing them of conducting a politically motivated witch hunt. He also criticized the leadership of the agency, suggesting that they were part of a broader effort to sabotage his presidency. However, it seemed like his real grievance was with the fact that the FBI was not backing out of the investigation, and it is no secret that Trump has always desired Vladimir Putin, president of Russia.
If Putin likes Donald Trump, I consider that an asset, not a liability.
He even went as far as defending Putin, openly against the FBI.
I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be, but I really do want to see the server.
Even now, this bad blood between them hasn't reduced just yet, especially with speculations of current FBI Director Christopher Wray's attempt to kill the former president. What makes this speculation even more wild is that Donald Trump appointed Christopher Wray as FBI Director on August 2, 2017. It is alleged that Trump appointed Wray because he appeared to be a safe choice, especially after the chaos that ensued after Comey was fired. Unfortunately, it didn't take long for tensions to arise between Trump and the new FBI Director. Wray made it clear from the outset that he would not be swayed by political pressure. He repeatedly emphasized that the FBI's loyalty was to the Constitution and the rule of law, not to any one individual.
My loyalty is to the Constitution, to the rule of law, and to the mission of the FBI.
This stance put him at odds with Trump, who continued to criticize the FBI's handling of the Russia investigation and other matters. A significant issue between both men stemmed from the 2020 elections, where the former president seemed frustrated that Wray refused to publicly support his claims of widespread voter fraud in the elections. It didn't help that in September 2020, when Wray, in testimony before the Senate Homeland Security Committee, stated that there was no evidence of voter fraud in the elections, his assertion seemed to make Trump more frustrated with the former president, even accusing him of being put there by his political opponents. In an interview, Trump said, "So Christopher Wray was put there. We have an election coming up. I wish he was more forthcoming. He certainly hasn't been. There are documents that they want to get, and we have said we want to get. We're going to find out if he's going to give those documents, but certainly he's been very, very protective." This accusation seems baseless, considering that Wray was in fact put there by none other than Trump himself. Despite the tension, Wray remained in his position throughout the rest of Trump's presidency. However, the ongoing dispute between the two raised questions about whether the FBI director could be trusted by the president or if he was part of the deep state conspiracy that Trump so often warned about. Following Trump's assassination attempt that happened in Butler, Pennsylvania in July 2024, the FBI took over the investigation of the case after the Secret Service's failings and the resignation of the agency's director, Kimberly Cheatle. However, Wray seems to have cast some doubts into the investigation, especially as he questioned whether it was a bullet or shrapnel that hit the former president.
With respect to former President Trump, there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that that hit his ear.
Now, let's address the most important question. Did Christopher Wray or anyone within the FBI actually try to kill Donald Trump? It's a bold claim, and one that has been fueled by conspiracy theories and political rhetoric. But is there any truth to it? To put it simply, there is no credible evidence to suggest that the FBI, or Wray specifically, plotted to assassinate Donald Trump. While it's true that the relationship between Trump and the FBI seems tense, there's a significant difference between political disagreements and a deadly conspiracy to kill one of the most influential figures in America's current political landscape. It is also worth noting that conspiracy theories involving the FBI and other government agencies are not uncommon in American history. For decades, there have been persistent rumors and speculations about the FBI and CIA being involved in the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Given this, it's hardly surprising that similar theories would emerge about Trump, especially given the high-stakes nature of his presidency. In the end, there's no substantial proof that indicates Wray attempted to murder Donald Trump, but in a power struggle, there's no saying how far the players are willing to go. Trump's assassination attempt and its implications on the FBI. With the FBI caught in the web of controversy following the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, we must explore the timeline of the incident as well as its implication on the FBI's failing relationship with Trump and the Republican Party in general. It all began with Donald Trump's choice to rerun for the presidency, a decision that would in turn birth a rather fierce political battle, especially between Trump and then Democrat nominee and current American President Joe Biden. But what shocked the nation and grabbed headlines around the world was an event that nearly cost Trump his life.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
The former president and now Republican nominee was grazed in the ear by 20-year-old gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks, who shot at him. However, the gunman missed and was eventually shot down by Secret Service snipers at the rally grounds. The assassination attempt, which unfolded in a series of tense moments, raised alarming questions about security at the highest levels of government and how such a threat wasn't curtailed before. It became something more sinister. July 13th, 2024. The day of the shooting was like any other. Donald Trump was to speak at an open-air campaign rally near Butler, Pennsylvania. The atmosphere, like every other Trump appearance, was charged, and the audience awaited the arrival of their political nominee. However, things would take a rather bizarre turn when several spectators began to make videos of a restless young man who was seen acting suspiciously on the rally ground.
She kind of took a few steps back to see exactly what was going on, and we seen the shooter at the bottom of the roof trying to kind of army crawl up the roof.
The young man, who would eventually be identified as Thomas Matthew Crooks, was said to have entered the rally grounds without screening by Secret Service officials. He was also said to have flown a drone while on the rally ground for about 11 minutes and was even seen pacing around the perimeters of the rally ground. At some point, a local law enforcement counter-sniper spotted Crooks and reported the young man's suspicious behavior to his colleagues. Not long after, another counter-sniper saw him scoping out the rooftop of a building while carrying a golf rangefinder, which particularly alarmed officers. Seeing that he had been spotted, Crooks ran from his position and evaded a search joined by 4 other local police officers, and the Secret Service was informed of this at some point. Still, Donald Trump was allowed to get on stage, and at 6:05 p.m. he began to address the crowd. While he did, an officer attempted to climb to the roof of the building where Crooks was perched and visible to many of the audience members.
Look, they're all pointing.
The Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there. Right there, see him? He's laying down. You see him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
Crooks spotted the officer while the officer's hands were clinging to the edge of the roof and aimed his rifle at the officer, at which point the officer let go, falling 8 feet to the ground and severely injuring his ankle. It was at this point Crooks began to fire into the crowd, firing 8 shots, one of which hit Donald Trump in the upper right ear, fatally killing an audience member and injuring others before he was shot dead by a sniper from the Secret Service.
Good. Shooters down. Are we good to move? We're clear.
While the attack was quickly thwarted by the actions of the Secret Service agents at the scene, the incident, however, left the nation in shock. The details that emerged in the hours and days that followed painted a picture of a coordinated effort that was disturbingly close to succeeding, with the Secret Service bearing the most criticism.
Start answering our questions right now about the death threat to President Trump and allowing him to go on the call.
Assassination attempt. You owe the people answers.
Investigations into the attack revealed that weeks before, the Secret Service had been informed of a potential Iranian threat, which led them to increase his security details in the days leading to the attack.
The U.S. government received intelligence from a human source that indicated that the Iranians were plotting to try to kill former President Donald Trump. Now, that led immediately to an increase in the protection for the former president.
However, former Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle testified before the United States House Committee on Oversight and Accountability, saying the agency had previously denied Trump additional security details for the past 2 years. The requests included additional snipers and special teams for outdoor events. A failure in interagency communications has also been pointed out. The failings of the Secret Service before, during, and after the assassination led to heavy criticisms of the agency, eventually eventually forcing Cheadle to resign as director. The FBI, who took over the investigation, would eventually get drawn into the web of controversy trailing the case, especially as the Bureau is still struggling to find a motive more than a month after the attack. Christopher Wray also questioning whether Trump was hit by a bullet or shrapnel has also sparked further conspiracy theories that seem to implicate the FBI as well as the Secret Service in a highly imagined plot to take out Trump.
With respect to former President Trump, there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that that hit his ear.
Essentially, the attempted assassination of Trump wasn't just a security failure, it was a political bombshell, highlighting the increasingly strained relationship between the FBI and the Republican Party, especially those who seem particularly loyal to Donald Trump. For many Republicans, the FBI had long been a source of frustration and distrust. The agency's involvement in the Russia investigation, its handling of Hillary Clinton's emails, and the perception that it was part of a deep state conspiracy against Trump had reduced confidence in its neutrality. Unfortunately, the assassination attempt only compounded these issues. As the FBI takes the lead in investigating the attempt on Trump's life, many in the Republican Party are skeptical. Some have questioned whether the agency could be trusted to conduct a fair and thorough investigation given its history with Trump. When his Mar-a-Lago club was raided by the FBI in August 2022, following a court-issued warrant to retrieve classified documents, Trump and his supporters accused FBI agents of trying to kill him.
This was an attempted assassination attempt on Donald John Trump.
Why was Merrick Garland prepping for a possible, shootout? Why did agents roll up, guns at the ready?
Around the same time, he claimed the Justice Department authorized the FBI to use lethal force against him. Even now, Republicans believe that the FBI has been politicized by Democrats and Trump opponents. For many within the GOP, the attempt on Trump's life was seen as a direct result of the FBI's perceived failures. The agency's inability to prevent the attack was viewed as yet another example of its incompetence, and calls for reform or even a complete overhaul of the FBI grew louder. The FBI is now being viewed with suspicion, as Republicans now view the Bureau as an enemy who proved they were unwilling to protect their leader, a symbol of the deep state that they believed was out to get Trump from the very beginning. United States Representative Lance Gooden even made a post on X, stating, "My constituents are deeply concerned with the FBI conducting the sole investigation into the attempted assassination of President Trump. They don't have faith in the current FBI leadership to get to the truth, given how they have targeted President Trump with political witch hunt after witch hunt at the behest of Joe Biden." Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., also shared Gooden's concern, even urging that a House committee closely oversee the FBI probe. Given how biased and weaponized the FBI has become in their actions over the past decade, I think this committee would be critical in making sure that Americans have some actual faith in the results of this much-needed investigation. The FBI says it is still trying to determine the motive of the 20-year-old man who climbed a roof outside the Trump rally venue on Saturday and opened fire before he was shot to death by Secret Service personnel. Still, their efforts do not seem satisfactory for many Trump supporters and Republicans, perhaps hoping the attack can be tied to Biden, his supporters, or even left-wing activists. Whether the FBI's handling of the aftermath of the assassination attempt can repair Trump and the Republican Party's distrust of the FBI is unclear. However, it may seem that repairing that trust won't be easy. The assassination attempt on Trump has left deep scars, and the FBI's relationship with the GOP may be irreparably damaged. Still, all we can do right now is hope that the FBI navigates this slippery situation properly and eventually gains their trust. Is the FBI truly misusing its power? While talks of the FBI director trying to kill Donald Trump may be speculative, there's no denying there's been several debates centered on the Bureau and what is being deemed an abuse of power. From year to year, there are new concerns about the agency crossing ethical lines in the discharge of their duties. But the question remains, is the FBI truly misusing its power? From their many issues with Trump to instances where they meddled in America, we're about to find out if there's any truth to this claim of power abuse. Aside from the 2016 Russia investigation by the FBI, there have been several instances where the Bureau clashed with Trump, which in turn birthed accusations of them crossing ethical lines. First, there is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrants controversy that involved a Trump campaign advisor, Carter Page. The FBI obtained FISA warrants to surveil Page as part of its investigation into Russian interference. However, it was later revealed that the FBI had made errors and omissions in its applications for those warrants. It was revealed that 2 of the FBI's 4 applications for warrants under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act to spy on Carter Page lacked probable cause and should not have been issued in the first place.
We found that investigators failed to meet their basic obligations of ensuring that the FISA applications were scrupulously accurate. We identified significant inaccuracies and omissions in each of the 4 applications, 7 in the first application, and a total of 17 by the final renewal application.
Furthermore, the FBI was said to have made material misstatements and omissions in those 2 warrant applications. Trump and his allies seized on these revelations as evidence that the FBI had acted improperly and meddled in his campaign, further deepening the distrust between the president and the agency. Another prominent case was the one that involved Michael Flynn and the FBI. Flynn, who served as head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, was part of those being investigated by the FBI as part of its ongoing investigations into Russian interference in the 2016 election. The purpose of the investigation was to find out if Flynn was knowingly or unknowingly involved in activity on behalf of the Russian Federation which may constitute a federal crime or threat to the national security of the United States. On December 1st, 2017, Flynn agreed to a plea bargain, with him pleading guilty to 1 felony count of willfully and knowingly making materially false statements and omissions to the Federal Bureau of Investigation about conversations with the Russian ambassador to the United States, Sergei Kislyak. However, Flynn's case took a dramatic turn in 2020 when the Justice Department moved to drop the charges against him, citing concerns about the FBI's conduct during the investigation. Critics argued that the FBI had entrapped Flynn using aggressive tactics to secure a guilty plea. For Trump and his supporters, Flynn's case was yet another example of the FBI overstepping its bounds in its pursuit of political targets. The FBI's handling of the investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server for official public communication while serving as Secretary of State is another instance where the Bureau found itself embroiled in controversy. Although this dispute wasn't directly linked to Trump, it played a significant role in shaping the political landscape during the 2016 election. At first, James Comey, who was then director of the FBI, announced that the Bureau wouldn't charge Clinton even though her actions were deemed extremely careless.
Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information.
However, not long before the elections, the FBI suddenly announced that they were reopening their investigation into the case after discovering new emails. This move was widely criticized for potentially influencing the outcome of the election, with some even arguing that the FBI had overstepped its role by inserting itself into a political process. There are also instances like the COINTELPRO program, which was a series of covert and illegal projects conducted between 1956 and 1971 by the FBI aimed at surveilling, infiltrating, discrediting, and disrupting American political organizations that the FBI perceived as rebellious or revolutionary. COINTELPRO targeted figures like Martin Luther King Jr., the Black Panther Party, and anti-Vietnam War activists. The program operated unchecked, and its activities included spreading false information, inciting violence, and even going as far as manipulating the media. Although COINTELPRO was officially discontinued in April 1971, its legacy raises questions about whether the FBI still engages in similar practices under the radar. In more recent years, there have been allegations that the FBI continues to use its surveillance powers to monitor political activists and movements. For example, during the Black Lives Matter protests, reports emerged that the FBI had been monitoring protest leaders and organizations, raising concerns about the Bureau's involvement in domestic political affairs. The FBI has also been criticized for its treatment of whistleblowers who expose wrongdoing within the government. A prominent case is that of Reality Lee Winner, a former NSA translator who leaked an intelligence report about Russian interference in the 2016 elections. She was prosecuted by the FBI and was sentenced to 5 years and 3 months in federal prison. It was deemed the longest prison sentence ever imposed for an unauthorized release of government information to the media, a move the FBI defended.
The sentence rendered today is the longest received by a defendant for an unauthorized disclosure of national defense information to the media. It appropriately satisfies the need for both punishment and deterrence in light of the nature and seriousness of the offense.
Winner's sentencing raised questions about whether the FBI's aggressive pursuit of whistleblowers is simply an attempt to deter others from coming forward. So, is the FBI truly misusing its power? The evidence suggests that there are legitimate concerns about the agency's conduct, both historically and in more recent times. Still, only time will tell if we can have confidence that the FBI is truly serving the interests of justice or misusing its power. And with that, we've come to the end of this video discussing the viral video of the FBI director trying to kill Donald Trump. For more thought-provoking videos like this, click on the cards showing on your screen and I'll be waiting.